Joe, you meant looking at numbers, were the numbers. So I called before the board meeting and said, hey, when are these numbers coming? And it's called the guaranteed maximum price. And once all the bids are done, we're 100% done with that. Then we'll have one document that shows who was awarded the bid and what the other bids look like. Okay? So I kind of am thinking that it'll be on the May 21st board meeting based upon the fact that the flooring stuff just got, it's
So
not
who's
even
deciding
out
on
yet.
the bids overall then?
The B&G committee. So
Okay,
the B&G committee reviews everything that's come up to that point. It's a competitive bid process, really, so the lowest
Are they
bidder
just
is
going
awarded.
with the lowest bidder?
Not if the scope is wrong, right? So that's one of the
Well, I
reasons.
know that we looked at the scope and we want to make sure that they can hit the scope, but
So legally, you're supposed to go with lowest bidder if
they-
in the competitive bid process and the scope matches up with what we've been asked to do. So some of the individuals who did bidding were asked almost 8 times to get their scope in alignment with what they had asked for too. So I know from some actual local companies that said, geez Louise, that they really kept coming at us to make sure that everything matched. So that comes to the B&G committee, and then from there, they're saying, yes, we give this the thumbs up. And then it comes to the board and gets a final report. So May 21st, we should have all of that done, is what I was informed. So over the past year and a half, the schools, since Blue Zones started in a Dodge County level supported by Aurora, there's a Blue Zone steering committee at a county level. I originally had started attending some of those meetings. I just can't fit it all in my schedule. But in the meantime, you can be Blue Zone work site, and there are Blue Zone schools. So the schools have reviewed what it takes, working with some of the Blue Zone leadership, to become a Blue Zone approved school. And through just making some minor changes in practices, I think overall, a lot of it was related to food service department and having our smart snack guidelines and just being in federal compliance. And so it was a good fit overall for the school district. But there were some changes that the committee did have to look at. That would be looking at more like physical activities being promoted. So that's why you see like a fun run and some other fun things that we've got going on. So I think, Becky, this would be a good time. Becky's going to speak on behalf of the schools.
So as Scott shared, we got notification during spring break that all 3 of our buildings, each building having their own wellness committee, had completed the things necessary to be considered a Blue Zone approved school. So we're just going to kind of walk you through some of the things that we have been doing. As part of that, one of the things that we incorporated this year, and has been done on some level more, I know the middle school did this a couple of years ago, and it was more similar to wellness, but it was just for the students. This was more of a family engagement activity. So back in February, we had our first wellness fair, supporting and highlighting a variety of things that families can do. You can see that that's Garrett Teeters riding a smoothie bike. So he is making a spinach smoothie right there simply by pedaling his bike. From Wendy Drumlin's, who are, again, all local vendors. Wendy Drumlin's came and brought some of their greens that they grow throughout the year. Sue Retzloff is in the bottom. She has her own fitness program that she runs and has kid fitness classes, etc. So she was there with some of the things that she does to encourage movement. Back in October, we did the Great Apple Crunch. This was a K-12 activity. Thanks to Peepers out in Brownsville, they supplied all of the apples for us. We have the entire district out on the football field enjoying one big apple crunch at one time, and then there's Michaela, and she's just cute with her pink glasses, so we need to throw her on there.
Part of a nationwide event, wasn't it?
Correct. That is, well, Midwest event for sure. We have incorporated breakfast in the classroom at Parkview. It is literally in the classroom. Learners pick up their breakfasts at about 7:45 and bring their brown bags into their classrooms where they can eat their breakfast. Our learning day on paper starts at 7:50. We have a kind of a slow start. It's about 8:10 that we are actually getting learning started, so we give our kids a chance to have full bellies. And last week we had 46% of our learners at Parkview get breakfast.
keeping in mind minutes, like what is Parkview, so as far as like legal requirement
We are
for
fine
contact
for
days,
legal
or,
requirements, correct.
you know, like,
So having
3 extra
that,
weeks of
that kind
school.
of a slower start to allow learners to get that full belly to be started for their day, we're okay in terms of minutes as well. Middle school also does breakfast. Theirs is a little different because they have to try and figure out, they've got specials that bump right up into the start of their day. So at the middle school, they are offering breakfast, but that is prior to the school day starting. And high school, I believe you have breakfast going as well. Yep, so all 3 buildings now offer breakfast, which I think is a wonderful thing for us to be able to do. Years past, Jump Rope for Heart had been a pretty regular part of our physical education program. We brought Jump Rope for Heart back this year, so both at the middle school as well as Parkview. The next slide is Parkview. You've got some pictures of our learners jump roping for heart. This one actually started last year, and this is probably one of my favorite things that we have now, is every day at Parkview Middle School and the high school, as part of our food program, there's always a salad of fresh vegetables and fruits available for kids to have. It's fun to watch. The kids pick up the things that they want to eat and they're choosing to eat, but to know that that's an option that they have every single day is fantastic. And that's something we really didn't have. That was a regular option for them to have.
not your old school lunch program, if you think about it. You know, like there have been some major changes, and that's in order to be in compliance with expectations too.
Yep.
It's not a blue zone, that's,
Correct.
we needed to do that,
Correct.
which is great.
The other thing that the blue zones blue zones gave us like kind of a checklist of things that we could have points for, and what this came down to is establishing and having enough points to be considered blue zone approved. But one of the other things I talk about is changing the atmosphere within the lunchroom, encouraging posters and smart ways to eat, make sure you have different things on your tables, and then we actually did kind of a professional development or a staff activity where Nikki Williams and Jessica Stortz, in collaboration, invited some of our staff members to come and have an art evening. And they actually, that's our staff members' artwork. They created the art that's now going to hang in the cafeterias within our buildings, again, to just improve that atmosphere within the lunchroom. Incorporating physical activity within the classrooms. These are things that have always been happening. Probably in the last 3 years, this has become more and more prevalent, but they're called brain breaks. So it's just a chance to take a stop from the academic work. Learners need to move. They need to get their wiggles out before they can continue on. So brain breaks have become a very important piece to all of our classrooms. So these are just some pictures of these are 3rd grade learners taking a break and doing a little movement activity before moving on with their learning. Within all of the PE classes, there are a lot of things that are applicable to everyday physical activity. So you see some karate demonstration that was done by some of our learners at the middle school who are part of karate. Ping pong, jumping, it looks like badminton is going on there. And if you look at the next slide, we also have the classes that are taught at the high school. These are pictures from last fall when Mrs. Schecker took the kids out canoeing. And they were out on the marsh and spending some time out there. So again, finding ways to encourage learners to think outside of the scope of what that PE or activity at school has to start, or in their life has to be just in that gym. But there's all kinds of ways that they can apply that movement in their worlds. This also then goes to one of the things that we are doing at Parkview and at the middle school. This is for grades K through 5. And this is new to Mayville, but not new to communities in the area, something called a fun run. It is a fundraiser that involves all of the learners within our buildings. Learners collect pledges for laps that they've completed, or it could be a flat pledge that they receive from individuals. All the money that will be raised by these learners completing their laps that they do will go towards improving and getting some more playground equipment for both of our schools, both the middle school and Parkview. So each grade level will have about 45 minutes. That will include their running, as well as cool down and snacks that will take place. It will be on May the 4th, which is where we've gotten the Star Wars theme for this year, so May the 4th be with you. There was an actual t-shirt design contest. That winner who drew that Yoda, it was Lizzie Werner, who was a 5th grader at the middle school.
That's impressive.
Gets the honor of having her artwork be part of the shirt that all of our learners will get. What's other nice about this is also community driven. We have a lot of a lot of donors within our community that gave some money to help support this fun run, to help take away the cost. Every learner who participates gets one of these t-shirts without any sort of cost. It's just theirs to have and to celebrate. Part of the back of their t-shirt will have the names and logos of those donors, as well as a place for us to track the laps that they do and the number of laps that they complete, and then they'll have it to remember that event.
And thinking that this would be an annual event.
Correct. This is our first time around. I think PTA, I think you guys have been great to kind of help take this on. I know Jessica Stortz went around today to the Parkview classrooms to do a little mini pep assembly. I know that some of the PTA folks created a video last week to be part of that kind of explaining what the fun run will be all about. And it will be actually this week that I believe the donor cards, the cards are going out for their pledges, so they can start collecting their pledges prior to the event. Following that and trying to keep that momentum going, our last slide, this is something that Parkview is going to be doing. The information will go out to families here within the next couple of days, but we're going to incorporate something called a walking school bus. So in this case, what we are looking at is all of our bus riders at Parkview, whether they ride their bus over to Parkview from the middle school to meet their families at the middle school at the end of each day, or if they ride the bus over to catch their regular bus home. What we are going to do is between Parkview staff and the Be the Change members that are part of the high school, we are going to have our bus riders have the opportunity to walk to the middle school to catch the bus there. Learners who are not bus riders are still going to get a chance. We're going to do a class walk or a school walk around our neighborhood at that point, and to have everybody ready for dismissal at 3 o'clock. So on the 11th of May and the 18th of May, we are going to be closing off learning at 2:30. The building will be walking, whether it's they're walking to the middle school to catch their ride home, or they're walking throughout the neighborhood until their families come to get them at 3 o'clock. So again, that is, just to keep the movement momentum going from the fun run, we're going to incorporate a couple of Fridays where we will be doing this as well. I did share with all of you a list to the BOE email, this PowerPoint. These are our wellness policies. So each one of the schools, and they all look very similar. If you want to click on one, Mr. Sable. These are the things, just a bulleted piece that shows the things that Parkview does, or that the Mayville School District does or believes in when it comes to wellness for our learners and our community.
And how are those different than the overall district ones?
There's not much different about
That's what I
No.
thought.
We have our regular meetings. We already enforce a tobacco-free campus. For Parkview, the non-food fundraising is something that we do anyway. Our fundraisers that we have at Parkview, we don't have any food fundraisers that we do.
We did an audit of the fundraising for the district last year, and Parkview and the middle school have very little fundraising going on. So seeing a fun run, something like that
Yes,
being added in
it's
is
exciting.
great. I mean, if you already had 70 other fundraisers, I'd say,
Right.
what's going to have that then? But you
Right.
really don't, so.
Nope. Our snacks, again, we encourage families to follow the Smart Snack guidelines when they're providing snacks for their learners. We don't provide soda. We don't sell soda at Parkview.
We can't.
Our PE classes are based on kind of lifestyle activities. Cafeteria food is all USDA Smart Snacks. We follow those nutrition guidelines. We encourage water as that beverage of choice. We've got the bottle fillers that are now in all of our buildings that allow for kids to very quickly and easily access water that they can be using throughout their days when they're learning. And we have, at Parkview, we actually have 40 minutes of recess time every single day that our learners have. And if they are dropped off at 7:30, they get an extra 15 minutes beyond that, if they have time to be outside physically active. But again, there's a link that has each one of the buildings. It might vary just a little bit depending on the age of the learner, et cetera. But that gives you an idea of.
You said you sent this to us?
I did just before I started, and maybe did not come. I just sent it to just a
Oh.
general BOE.
I know every time I try to click some, it says you don't have permission.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I
So.
Mine has an open, it should have an open link on it though, so
You
it
know what?
will
What
allow
I do-
everybody to view it with the link. Or I can
Okay.
send it to you.
So what happens is, if you ever share something with the BOE, it has to be BOE, and then you have to share with the individual board members too.
Each individual board member, I will
Yeah,
do that. while I
BOE
go
is the
back and sit
packet,
down.
board member make sure it's the next level.
So send it, share it by name.
Yeah.
Yep, I can do
I
that.
actually have a board member group that I
Yep.
have, I just hit the button.
Yep. Yep. All right.
So, but if it's an open link, then it should be fine.
It is a building,
Then it should be okay.
but I'll do it the other way as well.
Okay, awesome, well, thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Becky.
Yep.
Okay, then just kind of wrapping up mine before we move it to the rest of the directors and principals that are here. We've got two big, Ryan's got a big director update, finance update. Joel has two updates for his two hats tonight. So you guys keep it short.
And then everything at Parkview is fine, thank you.
All right. So just, I know, we've got the first day of sixth grade camp next week, Monday. I'll be attending that event and staying overnight just to spend time with the kids and the staff. We have two employee benefits advisory committee meetings. I know at the last meeting I shared about our insurance renewals. So we are in response mode and we're coming up with some plans. So I think we're gonna be in a good place overall, but we are definitely looking competitively at our options. So we've got a dental benefit that we've received a real solid quote for that we're gonna review with the committee on the 17th. And then we'll review everything coming from our broker on the 24th. So I think I've got a kind of a tentative save the date for a negotiations committee meeting for the three committee members. Those would be Jim, John, and Dick. So Wednesday, the 25th through Friday, the 27th. And is there just, I'll send an email out and asking you for a time that works out best. But just know that that's probably the window we want to be using to work with, because if we are going to be doing anything with preliminary notices of non-renewal for teachers, remember, if you have a 100% position, it's being reduced by 5% even. Legally, there's no more collective bargaining, so legally you have to have a preliminary notice for that 5% if they're going to make a change. So we're in a good position overall with the budget for next year. Right now, I don't think there's a need for any reductions based upon budgetary reasons. So we'll see. So based upon the outcome of our employee benefits meetings and the decision that a recommendation that I'll have for the negotiations committee, we may need to have something. So I think we're in a good place overall, but we shall see. Also on the 26th, there's the MPTC breakfast for the administrators to attend to see what's been happening with Marine Technical College. And then on May 2nd through the 4th, Add Elements is a organization. It's a nationwide organization. They are hosting a personalized learning summit, and I have in here a blog post. So John Schlender, our middle school principal, entered a blog post competition, and he won. So based upon his submission, he won on behalf of Mayville School District 2 free all-expense paid experiences that are in San Francisco. We're going to fly out Tuesday night after school is out, and the conference goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What's really cool about Wednesday is we're going to go right to the sites. We're going to actually see implementation of some model programs, which is exciting to be able to do that. And then Thursday, it's workshops all day long. We had to select our workshops that we're going to go to already, and they were filling up. And then Friday, it goes to about noon, and then we're just on a plane and headed right back again. So it's all covered, which is great. And what I think for me personally is I've got a lot of, this is my 21st year in education, but as far as personalized learning, I definitely looking for more information. So thank you to John for being so exceptional that he actually won this blog contest, which I think is really cool. And the fact that to this group for helping for Ed Elements to help fund the whole experience for us. So we'll be gone for 3 days doing travel. And then John, if you want to speak to this at all right now?
Yeah, I think I was the only one that entered.
There you go.
I guess the only thing I would say about it is I have been encouraged over the last several years to do more writing and journaling and documenting our journey, and I had done very little of that. And so over Christmas vacation, I challenged myself to start doing more writing. And about that time, I ran across this contest. I'm like, why not? And I threw it out there, and lo and behold, I guess resonated with the right people. So looking forward to this group out there. I wasn't real familiar with them. I've had a little bit of contact with them. Several of them emailed me, and we've started some conversations. I'm looking forward to meeting them. There are some other people from Wisconsin. I know some people from Racine are heading out there. There's there's some folks from Minnesota that are actually presenting out there, and otherwise it's across the country. I know Massachusetts and literally people from all over the country will be out there. I believe there's about 750 people attending the conference.
So then when we'll come back, we'll give them like an executive summary of what we experienced. You know, right now I have, like, you literally have to pick all of your workshops in advance. So for me, some of mine I've looked at, what does it mean to be expanding personalized learning into a high school? What does it look like in some model programs? What are the success stories, that kind of stuff. So, okay, so to me, that's really cool. So I've never seen that in all these years, actually having the whole entire piece funded through a gift to the school district in order to do that. So really cool. And then we've got prom coming up. So prom's on May 5th. Everybody's welcome to come and attend the grand march that happens pretty late at night. It's an excellent event. Last year was the first time that they had it at the golf course. They're having it there again. So for us, it's a one-stop sports shop. The kids actually have dinner there, and the dance is there. So all included. So you know your kids are safe. And then we have the high school, their senior awards night, which is scholarship night. It's a big night for the school district. I really would challenge to see school districts our size that are able to gift that many scholarships, that dollar amount actually. It's a very impressive dollar amount. It just goes to show the amount of support that comes from our community for our students. So that's at 5:30. We're supposed to have a board meeting that night. So how about Tuesday night instead? Tuesday night, okay?
I'd see some meeting that night, but I guess they can live without it.
Okay. All right, and that's an important meeting. So that's when Ron will be up here at that point in time and read through committees and that kind of stuff. So May 8th. All right, so that would be it from my report. And we're gonna go to our two principals really quick, and then we'll go to our directors after that.
We are continuing this week with our forward testing. That's, of course, the state testing. We should have most of it wrapped up this week. We have until next Friday to complete all testing, but we should get it done. It's really gone very smoothly this year, and we've kind of just worked it into the schedule. Something I wanted to highlight, and hopefully in May we'll be able to give a full report, but we had one of our 7th grade learners, as part of her STEM activity, they've been studying computer science, and it's an area of interest, and she got so far ahead of her group she didn't want to just keep going. So she actually developed this pretty much on her own with Melissa Schneider's help, but she wanted to offer an unplugged computer science experience, and she offered to teach it to some of the younger classes. So today was the first day. Some 3rd graders came down, and she created like a computer science activity on a mat or on a where they drew out a like a course, and then there was a robot that had to follow that course, but it was all, they weren't plugged into the internet or online. So to show that you can apply all those principles without the use of technology, I thought it was very, just a good blend of the process without needing all that, and her mastery of the subject to be able to teach it to younger kids. So just one example of some of the great things going on in STEM. This Friday we were scheduled to do a prairie burn, which we've done in the past. The hillside that's now a prairie, and we're locked in. Obviously that will get postponed. But we also invited Walter Merck, who, if you remember, was instrumental in helping our 5th graders at the time get that prairie started and doing a lot of the plantings. He's a prairie enthusiast. our current 8th grade class is the ones that started that Prairie Project and got it going. We've invited Walter to be our guest speaker at 8th grade recognition this year, and he was on